Morning time on the 6th of June, and I'm about to depart Bermuda, and I'm going for Flores in the Azores. Nervous but excited. The weather is weird at the moment, so I'll show you on the chart. So here's Bermuda, where we are now. 1800 miles away is Flores in the Azores. The Azores High typically covers the area between Bermuda and the Azores on the rum line. However, at the moment the high has split and a large part of it is currently up and over Ireland, and the second part of it is far lower or further south than it normally would be. So what's happening is that the weather systems coming off the coast of the US, they're kind of being squeezed between those two areas of high pressure into this area between the Bermuda and the Azores, which means there's much more wind on the rum line for Bermuda to the Azores than there usually would be. The southern route is looking good to me. It should be good wind, and it gives me the ability to duck south if I get hit by any of these weather systems. So that's what I'm thinking. I am nervous, but I'm looking forward to being out there. The weather's good for the next few days anyway. The weekend it looks like it might get strong, but yeah, we're ready for this. Let's go. Lots of boats seem to be getting ready to leave today. Really is a beautiful island, Bermuda. Sails up, beam reaching on a port tack. Bermuda starting to disappear into the background. Yeah, feel good. I mean, there's still time not to feel good, but yeah, the boat feels great. She's flying along. So we've 1,668 miles to go, and we're currently zipping along at 5.1, 5.2 knots. And I'd say 15 knots of breeze. Sun's come out, the wind is perfect. 2 and a bit weeks of this, please. It'll be amazing. Well, I can't think of a nicer date that I've started a passage this year. It's absolutely perfect. Currently going about 5.7, 5.8 knots. And yes, sunny, nice waves, nice wind. Got this crazy little guy. Like, oh, careful bird. Wow. So there's a Bermudan long-tailed tropic bird. They do hang out here. I'm just a little bit worried that he might fly into my wind generator, which obviously wouldn't be good for anybody involved. Be careful of the thing. Yeah, so that's that's going to be comic. He's so close to the wind gen there. I'm hoping that they have some sort of sense of the spinning blades. Kind of spectacular. It's not really coming out there, but beautiful. It's the morning of about to finish the first day. Last night was very much a night of two halves. Up until about 3 o'clock we were flying along nicely on a broad reach, and the wind went around behind us. We were dead downwind, pulled out the head sail, and that's when issues started occurring with the wind vane. Just not steering a straight course, jibing constantly. So I think the issue is it's relatively light winds. The wind vane is not responding quick enough. I think it's just a little stiff. It needs a clean out. I was actually contemplating turning around and heading back to Bermuda. We're 100 miles downwind of Bermuda at the moment, so that would be unpleasant to say the least. But then the wind picked up a bit and it's been fine for the last hour or so, which is, you know, good. So we carry on. We have the electric autopilot. We have the hope for, you know, windier weather. The first day of passages, things go wrong and they become really big in your head, and it's just getting through that is part of settling into the passage. It's also got quite cold. I think it'll warm up during the day. Jiving again there now. So annoying. It'll warm up during the day, but at night it's a return to woolly hats and long-legged trousers. Yeah, get used to it. It's only going to get colder as we go further north. This guy kind of snuck up on me doing 16.5 knots. He's a quick one and a big one. So it's about time for a jibe. We're heading way too far north, and yeah, it's a bit of a rigmarole with the preventer and the pulled out head sail. But the first thing to do is to jibe the mainsail, and that'll make the head sail a lot more manageable because it'll be blanketed behind the main. So first thing really to do is take off the preventer. I'm just going to get my life jacket on and do that. That was a pretty exhausting passage of sail changes and maneuvers. So we were a little bit overpowered, so after I jibed, I reefed the main, swapped the preventer, jibed the pole for the head sail, and reefed the head sail. So yeah, it was very, very close to turning around and heading back to Bermuda. It's much better on a starboard tack. It seems to be on a port tack. It's just a little bit of stickiness in the pointing up side of things. So on the starboard tack, it's bearing away that it's a little bit stickier. So I may have problems with the pulled out head sail, but we'll see. On this jibe, I'm kind of nicely on course for the moment and flying around 5.5, 6 knots. So it's all good really. It is windy, but not like I have 2 reefs in the main, but the second reef is more a precaution than anything else because I am expecting it to rise a bit more. Slightly like all over the place, which speaks to the weather systems that have been coming through the last week or two. At the moment, it's got all the. It feels like a trade wind passage, which is sort of bizarre. It feels very much like a trade wind passage, both the strength of the wind, the direction, and the consistency of it. Just I know it's only been 24 hours or 30 hours, but the waves, everything just feels like this could be almost an Atlantic crossing down south towards the Caribbean and the trades. Completed day 2, 121 mile day. Very, very nice really. No stress. Settling in. It does feel long, but I am settling in now. I'm actually trawling a fishing line, which is how I know I'm usually happy at sea, as if I'm starting to fish. Yeah, the wind it's maybe 18 to 20 knots, right on the beam. It's sort of perfect ocean sailing really. There's not a huge swell, there's slightly confused sea, but not in an uncomfortable way. That could be an approaching frontal system, those high wispy clouds. I'm thinking the weather might be about to change in the next day or so. Just not so much the wind as the sunshine. It's been a strange couple of days of sunshine really in the pattern that we've been having, but the barometer is steady and high, so might just be catching the edge of a high to the south of here and a low to the north, and the combination of them both is these lovely southwesterly winds. Yeah, this is a good time of the trip to have good weather while I'm still easing my way into it. Tried to sleep a couple of times today. It's just not working, but I suspect I'm just not quite tired enough to really start getting into the proper rhythm of it yet. Grey skies, grey water, dark. It's not that cold, but like not warm either. But we're going along really nicely on a slightly broad reach. There's Bermuda on the very leftmost side of the screen, and there's Flores and the Azores just on the very rightmost. Yeah, so still only 2 days out of Bermuda, 2.5 days, but we're hitting what I would call Irish summertime conditions. I'm in my oilskins for the first time since Biscay really, definitely since Madeira, so yeah, kind of grim, but yeah, oh well, this is the North Atlantic for you. So just a little context for the positions relative to other land masses. I started off in Bermuda, which is roughly offshore of the coast of South Carolina and Florida, to the west of there, and 600 miles south of Nova Scotia. So we're now 800 miles south of Newfoundland. These are the Grand Banks here, which have a fairly ferocious reputation for enormous seas and ice and storms and just horrendous weather. So in another day or two we'll be south of the Grand Banks. I seem to be entering into the euphoria part of the trip, which is nice. I don't know if it's sleep deprivation or just you know, once you get a certain number of days and miles under the keel, but sort of things settle and you just accept where you are. It didn't really happen on the way up to Bermuda. I think the overall passage was too short, but it's happened now after coming up on 4 days, and I'm really in the zone, in the groove, and yeah, loving this, loving life. It's brilliant. Some of it is slightly weather dependent, but it was hammering rain this morning and I was still like grinning from ear to ear, just loving sailing. Dead downwind, slightly off course, but none of that really matters. We're going along beautifully and I'm just happy on board. So the wind is building throughout the day, and I'm expecting gusts of over 30 knots later, so I've fully reefed down, and we're on a dead run, wing on wing, and it's cool. I mean, we're flying along. Boat's a bit uncomfortable with the rolling of the waves, but I'm completely accustomed to it at this stage, so apart from just being a bit all over the place, it's absolutely fine. Like I'm used to it. It does make sleep very hard, but it is due to go a little bit more northwest later, at which stage I'll probably jibe again. I've been jibing a lot, and then I might have a slightly more broad course, which might roll a little less. Yeah, the forecast is for it to get gusty, not windy. I think max like 24-25 knots, but gusting up to the mid-30s, so that could well be the most wind that I've seen all year. But we're dead downwind, and I'm fully reefed down, so like 35 knots from astern should really not be much of a problem. What you would worry about in these conditions normally would be the wave height, which apparently is not going to get higher than 2.5 meters, so that's perfectly fine. The occasional sea breaking into the cockpit now, so apologies for the mess of the cockpit. I was caught unawares. So yeah, washboard's in. Hope I don't catch any fish. I wish I'd taken that in earlier, but I don't really feel like going out there now. Yeah, quite windy, but not outrageous. It's just the sea is building a bit as the day goes on. But I feel okay. I'm not nervous at all. I don't know if that's based on anything or... yeah, feels grand. The kind of time where a breakage would be bad, like any breakage at this stage would be messy to deal with these the motion of the boat at the minute and these very peaky waves. So it's hard to see this, I think, but we have 100 hours done and 499 miles. Yes, I suspect this is about as bad as it's going to get, or it's going to get, yeah, those blackish clouds closing in look like they could possibly be the worst of it, so we'll see. It might be about to get interesting. It's already a little bit interesting. We broached there a minute ago quite severely, but luckily we're wing on wing, so kind of hoping I have enough of the head sail rolled away that it'll be safe if we do broach. Not too much pressure. The waves have actually gotten a little bit smaller, I think. Yeah, so this is definitely what gusts in the 30s looks like. She kind of feels like she's close to the edge, but she shouldn't be really. I think it's just me that's close to the edge. Yeah, very familiar. It reminds me of Biscay quite a lot. I'm nowhere near as nervous this time around. That's a bit more head sail rolled away, so she should be less inclined, I hope, to snap at herself or backwind heavily if we broach. Again, the wind vane not being 100% is kind of leading us to be a little bit slow bearing away after a wave knocks us up. It's nearly time for me to go in and just forget about it. I think the boat will just have to look after herself. Definitely the strongest wind speed right now. It's whistling around the rigging. Scrap the head sail I have out. Really hard to see though. Normally when you're in this sort of thing, the speed tells its own tale, but not actually really going that quick here. It's really annoying. You figure in this sort of wind, at least the one positive is that you're usually flying along. But like we're averaging 5, but no more than that. Annoying. Getting very wavy out there. Now I feel like the wind might be dropping somewhat, but the waves are still increasing, which actually I remember from Biscay was definitely a thing. So we just took a load of water over the side there and nearly got knocked down by the wave after it. Definitely starting to moderate, which is wonderful. So yeah, that was gusting 35. Very, I mean, manageable, but only as long as something doesn't go wrong. You know, I wouldn't want to be jibing in that wind or doing any deck work really. So we've been going off course for ages and wallowing around the place, and I knew we needed to jibe back onto port to start making our way back slightly north again, because I don't want to lose the north that I have come going south. So even though the seas are still quite confused, the wind is down, so I managed to get her jibed, which I'm glad. I've done a good few of them now. I've done 5 or 6 jibes over the last 3 or 4 days, and yeah, luckily I have, because everything just worked. I thought ahead, like thinking, what do I need to bring forward this time? The new preventer, the new preventer on the pole, and yeah, it was very smooth. Thank God, because it was like I really had to hang on for dear life. It was pitching all over the place. I could have probably waited another half hour or so. There's no guarantee the wind won't come up again, and now we're fit for anything now. We're at least on course for the new wind, which is northwest, and the waves are actually helping us now a little bit, rather than just hitting us on the side and making us wallow. That one almost jibed us, but didn't, crucially. So nice bit of a gloomy sunset out there in the distance, mirroring the general gloom of the day. It's been a fantastic day of sailing though. All sorts of conditions, and yeah, like the more heavy weather stuff I get, the more comfortable I get with it. I think it always, like, single-handing in heavy weather is always going to be tough, like. But the more, like, it's the novelty of it. Like, I'm used to, like, I've gone and reef so many times when, you know, the boat's a little bit wobbly and rolly, but not like it was earlier, you know, where you have breaking waves over the deck, and you really have to think things through much more than you would normally. You can't be on autopilot. But yeah, I'm delighted with how everything has gone today in general. Saphira's handled it really well. I think I have too for the first time in heavy weather. A beautiful sunset to end a weird day of weather. Great conditions, and then awful conditions, and then kind of in between conditions now. Still quite an uncomfortable sea state, but the wind has gone right back down to the 20s, so I'm happy. Very happy. And we're heading the right direction, crucially, of between 3 and 5 knots, depending on where we are in the wave. I think we'll average around 4.5, which is fine. It's nice to be moving in the right direction.